I grew up in a single parent household. My mother, it was just my mother and my sisters and I. So my father was an absent father. I remember being about 10, 11 years old, finding out that like my father didn't actually want me to even be born. My mom has always been a prayerful woman. And I remember, at this time, she kind of gathered my sisters and I into our living room, and she would make us pray and read the Bible every single night. I remember in one of those nights, us being at the table in our living room, and I just started crying. As soon as I finished reading the verse that I was reading, I started crying. And it was more of like, wow, God, all right, if you're real, show me. Like, if you're really this loving father, show me. And that was really like my turning point, where I was like, all right, let's take this serious. These stories that I've been hearing about this loving father, these stories I've been hearing about this almighty, all-present God that really cares for me, let's see if it's real. It was so hard for me to relate to God, because I grew up hearing, God is a loving father, but I had nothing to compare it to. Like, my father was just not around, so it made no sense to me. Being about 24, 25 years old, my relationship with God, I was growing in my relationship with God, and in order for you to actually do or fulfill God's purpose in your life, you have to learn to forgive. You have to forgive those that did you wrong. And the first person that came to mind was my father. It was a Tuesday night. I remember calling him about 10, 11 o'clock at night. And first thing I said, hey, Dad, I forgive you. And as soon as I said that, I remember I just started crying. That was such a turning point in my relationship with my father. It was it was like I can't do anything about the past, but now I can do something about the future. It was in that moment where a light bulb hit me, where I remember thinking, this concept of, the Heavenly Father, loving Father that loves me, kind of became a realization for me. God was like, that's what it is. You don't have to do anything to gain my love. You don't have to do anything for me to be impressed with who you are. I love you just because of that. You're my son, and I love you. There's nothing else that you have to do. Now, I think there's such a freedom when I come to talk to God. To live this way, you can really approach God with anything and everything. Seeing, C3, Queens location has been amazing. Seeing it from the beginning, from this initial concept, to now that we're in this new venue and I'm seeing hundreds of people just come in, it's incredible, because I love Queens, and people are getting to meet God in what we're doing, and there's nothing more satisfying, nothing that brings me more joy than just that, people getting to meet God, especially in a neighborhood that I grew up in, especially in that neighborhood where I lived my whole life. Being part of Jamaica DP has been such an incredible thing. People there that actually genuinely care for you, they listen, when you have a prayer, they're praying for you throughout the week. And it's just been so wholesome. It's been so great to just be around these people that actually support you, this community that actually wants you to win. You don't have to have the wisest words, you don't have to say the correct thing all the time, but as long as people see that you're there for them, being consistent, that says so much more than anything else.